Hello, beautiful souls! I am Valeria Maritza at Healing Through You. I am an infinite being of light, and so are you. Today, I have been called to talk to you about nostalgia. And if you're not sure what that means, is when you're thinking back at the things from the past, your past, when like it could be past like with a past partner, or past when you maybe your parents were alive or your grandma was alive, or past in your childhood friends, relationships. Nostalgia, right? You're feeling kind of like that feeling of, oh, that was so nice, and then you have that feeling of, oh, but it's no longer true, or I no longer have that, right? When we start to long for something that we used to have, where things were simpler, when things were nicer, or happier, if you're not having a good time right now, right? And you're thinking of these things with nostalgia. You could also be like, oh, you're thinking of your first home when you grew up. Let's say that home sold, and you're feeling like, oh, that beautiful home. Okay, so I was called today to talk about this because nostalgia lives in your mind. And your mind, when you think about these things, those feelings come out of the thoughts that you create in your mind. So you're thinking about this thing, you're thinking about how beautiful or wonderful the home was, right? You have this endearment feeling, or it could be about friends, right? Maybe you're longing for your college friends that you no longer are friends with, whatever it is, right? But these are your thoughts. Your thoughts are creating the feeling of, oh, that was so nice. However, the feelings continue to flood your subconscious with, and I no longer have this, right? Or it's no longer that way, or I don't, it's no longer the way it used to be, or whatever it is, right? And so that second part is the part that makes us feel as if we no longer have it, which we don't have usually. That's what nostalgia comes from. So, why have I been called to talk about this? It's because we tend to begin to live in the past, right? You think about the things that the way they used to be and how wonderful that was. And then your mind says you no longer have this, but then your mind continues to create. It creates thoughts, right? And those thoughts create more feelings. And the thoughts that come after that are the thoughts of, oh, and this could have happened, or maybe this could have been in my life if, big if here, they were still in your life, if the home still existed, if the relative was still alive, right? Whatever it is, fill in the blank. Those extra thoughts of, like, for example, let's just take one thing so that I can just go with it and give you an example. Let's say you're thinking back of a grandparent who has crossed over, and you were very close with them, right? So you're thinking, oh, the great times you had. Oh my goodness. Now I feel sad because I no longer have grandma in my life. And then the other part that comes up that we tend to do is, um, oh, and she never got to fill in the blank. See me graduate for college, come to my wedding, meet my child, be a grandma to my kids, whatever it is, right? You fill in the blank. These are the thoughts that you are creating in your imagination that actually never happened, right? But you'll be feeling sad about it. You're feeling a void about not having these things have happened. They didn't happen, I lost it, whatever, but they never happened to begin with. So they're all created in your mind. They're all just imagination. And they make you feel even worse. So first you start thinking back of, oh, that was great, I no longer have it. Then you create even more sorrow for your own self in thinking of what could have been. The could have been is pure imagination, right? It is the same thing as imagining your future. I can sit here today and imagine myself, I don't know, as a queen, as the Queen of England, just to be something completely ridiculous, right? I can imagine myself at that and begin to dream of what life would be and what I would do and whatever. And that's made up, right? And I'm choosing something completely ridiculous just to make a big point here, that I can dream about that and then feel bad that I'm not going to be the Queen of England, that it can't be for whatever reasons, obviously, the way it's not the way it works, and feel bad about not being able to achieve that dream. Do you understand where I'm going with this? Right? I can create whatever I want in my future, and if it's something like this, like, being the queen, becoming the Queen of England, it's not going to happen, and then I can start feeling bad about it. It's the same thing that we tend to do when we're becoming nostalgic and thinking of the things that we used to have, and then start dreaming about what could have been, right? So you're creating something that cannot happen because the person is gone, the home is gone, whatever it is, right? But you are making yourself um you're making yourself sad, upset, and having that feeling of I can't do it, I can't manifest, I don't have it, right? This void, you're creating this in your energy field by thinking about it and then feeling, right? Because feeling is what actually makes things happen. It's not just the thinking, it's the feeling, when you really feel like being in there, right? So I'm going to give you a little trick here. You can feel nostalgic, you can think back of the person that crossed over way too early and left the physical world for you. You can think about whatever it is, and think about all the great things that happened, those beautiful, wonderful moments, right? And then, just as your mind continues to create things like, oh, but now she could never have met my kids and not be a grandmother to my kids, or she never saw me graduate, right? Instead of going that way, begin to make the imagination, the story that you are creating, one, because it is imagination, you can create anything you want, right? One that you would have liked it to be. For example, and this is going to be really out there, so I'm preparing you for it. Oh my goodness. And now that she's crossed over, she gets to be with me all the time. And I felt her when I graduated, and I'm pretty sure I saw her in the crowd before I looked a second time, and then she had disappeared, that she was there at my wedding. And oh my gosh, I can see my child talking to the air, and I know it's my grandma, and bring that feeling of joy and wonder and excitement. Right now, this is with a person. So let's say what you're feeling nostalgic about is a home, right? That your childhood home, it was destroyed by a tornado. Okay, oh my goodness, all of those memories can never be back there. Okay, so now again, think back of the great times you spent in there, all of the good memories, and then, oh my goodness, I'm creating those wonderful times when we're all gathered by the table playing board games, and now I get to recreate those things in this new home that I have, or on this new table that I have. Maybe you don't have your own home, maybe you still have a table that was passed down for you. Oh, this table is going to be the point of gathering, and I'm creating those memories here, and you begin to imagine the joyful things that you are now creating in the moment. Now, let's say it's something about um, past relationships. They're not dead, but they're no longer in your life. So, for example, best friends in college or high school, and you love those times, but now you've gone your separate ways. You're maybe not even talking to each other. The relationship is completely gone. The person has left your field for whatever reason. It doesn't matter what the reason, right? They left, but they're still alive. They're still around. They're just not in your field. And you're longing for them. Like, oh my goodness, we used to be such great friends. We used to do everything together. I love just being able to call whenever. And there was always that ear there helping me. And you're feeling that, right? How do you change that? Well, here it is. And this is the main part, because I think I went a little bit off a tangent here. The main part that my guys wanted to let you know. Anything that has fallen off your radar, those things that we feel nostalgic about, if it fell off your radar, is for a reason. And the reason is always for something better, for maybe some type of spiritual growth, maybe some type of finding yourself, maybe it's changing the way that you were thinking or feeling, and it's opening you up to something bigger and better that wouldn't have been possible if that thing or that person was still in your life the way that you used to know them. So, and I'm going to work myself backwards. Let's say your friends are no longer friends with you. They left you, they just dropped off. You seem to always be doing the calling. They would talk to you, but they never make the effort to call you back. Then you got tired. Okay, I'm not doing it. And guess what? They never call you back. And you're feeling like, oh my goodness, they really, really didn't want to hang out with me anymore. Or like, that relationship fell off. Okay. And we, as humans, and with our beautiful, wonderful ego that's always there to make us feel so good, I'm being sarcastic here, begin to feel there's something wrong with us. Oh my goodness, did I say something wrong? Did I do something wrong? What happened? Why do they not like me anymore? Or whatever, right? We tell ourselves the worst stories when something like this happened, and we blame ourselves. Well, my guides and your guides, because I am tuning into whomever's listening here, are really strongly saying when a relationship falls off the radar. Now they're also saying this also has to do with relationships within your family. Let's say you're like have a strange daughter or son or parents or an ex or whatever it is, right? It's all about relationships. It doesn't matter what it is. When they fall off the radar, is because you no longer need them. And I'm pausing here. Big drama space here. You no longer need them because you have moved on. If you're listening to this podcast or anything else that's similar to this, it's because you have become aware of something else, something different than those who are falling off your radar are not. They're not ready to listen. They're not ready to see. They're not ready to feel the things that you are doing. And therefore, they are no longer vibrating at the vibration that you are. And they have to fall off. They are no longer needed in your life for your growth or for anything else, right? They get replaced by other people, other beings, other things that are vibrating at the vibration that you are. So a lot of times we fall out of space with friends because one person is growing at a faster rate than the others. They are doing the work, they are becoming more aware, they are feeling and seeing the world in a completely different way. It also goes the other way. Some people go down the spiral, going down, lowering their vibration. How many people know somebody that are best friends and they become either depressed or involved with drugs or something, and they start becoming very self-destructive, and then the whole rest of the group kind of moves away from that one person that is lowering their vibration, right? You've seen this happen. The poor me person who continues to do things that are not good, and everybody else is witnessing it, but no one knows what to do about it. And then that person ends up falling off the radar, right? So that person is falling down the radar the different way, right? They're going down, and then everybody else is maintaining their frequency, but they're no longer matching the frequency of that one friend, of that one person, and so they fall off the radar, right? They're no longer friends, they can no longer hang out together. It just happens, right? But it also happens when you move up, right? And what I mean by moving up is you're raising your frequency. Your frequency is vibrating at a higher frequency that other people are not ready to be at. They're not ready to be at, and that means that they also are not ready to listen to you, hear you, see you, or even understand what you're doing. And this is why they fall off. There's a time and place for everyone. And you probably have heard a similar type of saying that says that, right? Everybody has a place and time in your life, and then they fall off, and then you let them go, and then some other ones come up. Why? Because once you let them go, once they fall off your radar, then you make space for the new ones to come up. You make space for new people to enter your life who are vibrating at your vibration frequency or higher, right? Because we're always attracted to people who have a frequency that matches us. We really like those because they're like right along with us. And we're also attracted to people who are vibrating at a higher frequency than us because it's like we admire them. Oh my gosh, how did you do that? Wow, that's amazing. That thing you said, that was so wise. How did they do that? Right? And then to you become excited, and you start raising your frequency and your vibration because that person is bringing you up and you're accepting it, you're wanting to go there, and so you do that. Now some people are like, what are they doing? Why are they How are they saying that? And then they become annoyed. It triggers them, like, there they go again with that wise mouth, and they didn't even study anything. Who do they think they are, right? This is when you or somebody is raising the frequency, and everybody else who's at a lower frequency gets triggered by it because they're not ready or willing to go up with them. So that's how the triggering happens. That's how people fall off your radar. They're not telling you this. They're not telling you this. They're just falling off because you bother them. It's kind of like seeing that sunshine happy person all the time, and you're like, what are they so freaking happy about? Why are they smiling all the time? Can't they see all the fill in the blank of whatever terrible thing is happening in the world? Right? It annoys the people who are not ready to grow, who are not ready to move up. And so when you are feeling nostalgic about people who are still alive and have fallen off your radar, recognize that it's because you no longer need them, because you have moved on, and because you now are ready to accept new people into your circle that are going to fill that void. But these new people are going to be vibrating at the frequency that you now are or higher to help you continue to move forward. Now, let's say, now going back, let's say it's like a thing, right? Like a home. Oh, the childhood home was washed off by a tornado, broken into million pieces by the tornado, and now you're feeling nostalgic. You don't have it. Why did that have to fall off? Right? Why did that have to happen? Now, think about this, right? If it's a home that you've been living all your life and you're feeling nostalgic about it, and you're like thinking like, oh, but I always wanted to go there. Okay, think of the freedom that that brings to you, because a lot of people live their lives in patterns, right? Okay, I finish college, and every holiday I go back home to my childhood home. My parents are there, and as soon as you get back there, what happens? Your frequency lowers because it's like you're living in the past. And this happens all the time. This is why there are so many holiday fights and disagreements at family places when you are meeting them just for the holidays, is because you're coming back, and all of those old energies that are no longer um, running at the frequency that you now are, because you have moved on, you have grown, you have expanded, that clashes, and this is why there's so much discord. I'm not saying that it happens all the time, but it happens enough to notice, right? And this is one of the reasons. This is why it happens. And so now imagine the home is no longer there. Then now what happens? Oh, well, now we can move on to the next place. Maybe you're still going home to your parents and they're living in an apartment now. And the apartment is new and it has new energy. And now everything is feeling newer and better and aligned better with the energy that you have, you see? So look at how those things are now creating new opportunities for you to continue to grow and expand in the way that you are wanting to do it. Okay, and now I'm going to go back to the last one. Let's say it is losing someone, a loved one, right? Like grandma, we're talking about grandma. And then I made you that imaginary story about knowing and imagining or thinking or feeling that they're still with you at the important events, that your children are actually meeting them. They're here in spirit, they're not in body. Let me tell you a secret, they are. Okay, so it's not just imagining it. But if you're not there yet and you're not believing in that, then imagining that they could be here, that your child is looking at them, that you feel them, and that they're actually here and seeing every single thing that you're doing still in spirit, then that is a way to open yourself up to what else is possible. And so a lot of times when someone crosses over, someone that we love crosses over, and we're able to feel them, see them, smell them, think of them, and imagine that they're actually here with us, they are. And you are feeling, seeing them, hearing them. It's not your imagination. And so what good can happen from us losing someone we love? What good can happen, right? Because that is the question that we as humans always have. Nothing good came from so and so's death. If you're able to communicate and still see them and feel them, then that is something good that's happening, because we are infinite beings of light, right? That's how I start my podcast every single time. I am an infinite being of light. And so are you. That means we don't die, guys. We're always around. We're always here in spirit. This is why you can communicate with people who have crossed over. And this is why, if this is not something that you're really open to right now, imagining it can help you reach that part and feel them, right? I was talking to my mother who's crossed over some 20 years now yesterday, and I was speaking to her. I was doing my automatic writing and I was calling her and I was asking for questions, and I felt her hug. I felt her love, right? And then of course, whenever I make connections like that, it's like all of the emotions come up, all the tears. I'm like, oh my gosh, I really miss you, like all of that stuff. And like, but then you know that they're here. You know that that feeling that you're feeling in your body is real, right? And so I know it's difficult when we lose somebody, especially if you lose somebody who's young, right? Like a child instead of like a grandparent. Not saying that this that one death has less power than the other or less feelings than the other, but we tend to mourn the young more than the old, because at least we think, well, they had a good life or they had a long life, and of course they were older, and we know we're all going to pass. So but it's unexpected when it's like a child, and then we grieve even more, right? Like, what was good about this child crossing over, right? Especially when it's like unexpected, right? Like a car accident or some type of mass shooting, that's something that's completely horrible, right? Like, what good came out of this, right? Okay, so a little comfort here, very little if you have lost someone, but still the guys are wanting me to send this out, is that when a child crosses over, whether it's a long-term illness or something sudden and tragic, know that that child's soul had this contract that they wanted to learn a specific thing they wanted to learn, and they also wanted to serve humanity, people around them, expand their own souls somehow. And how is that? What are you talking about? I'm talking about, okay, let's say a child has a terminal illness, right? As hard as it is, think and imagine all of the people that come around to take care of that child, all the love and compassion that is poured onto that child and the family members, all of the ways that people change their lives to take care of that baby, of that child, because of the circumstances, right? Sometimes the lessons come, actually, I would say lots of times, the lessons come when a tragedy is hitting the family, because it forces us to be in the moment, to love unconditionally, to give compassionate love and understanding, and stop the rush that goes in our mind of I need to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J before I get to love, stay, and be present. How many people are living like that, right? Especially in the big, dense cities. They're working, 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 and they're not making the time to be present for their children, for their loved ones, for their animals, for humanity, and even for themselves. And so sometimes people have some type of tragedy. It could be they break a foot and they're forced to lay in bed, right? It can be they get sick and they're forced to not even be able to check their social media. Oh my goodness, how terrible, right? In today's world, it forces us, tragedy forces us to stop and be present in the moment. All right, guys, I have gone on for a really long time today, and so I'm going to leave it with that. Please let me know how this landed for you. Leave me a comment, write a review if you like the comments, and what you're listening to, and please share this podcast so more people can get the messages. I love you so much, and I will talk to you soon. Bye bye.